Hello and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I am Nathan Shields. Got my good buddy, Will Humphreys. I didn't mention his titles last episode or upcoming, wherever this one lands, but he is the co-founder and CEO of In the Black Billing. Do you call it In the Black Billing? What do you call it?
We call it just in the black, but usually that's great when people are announcing it that way because they know what it is. Like in the black, honestly, we had the weirdest phone calls from people going like, what is this? Like, it's a financial term. They're like, oh, whatever.
So you're also founder of Rockstar Recruiter and CEO of Multiple Exit. So
Yes.
If you are a PT owner, he can help you in many different ways. Multifaceted Mr. Man in the corner of the physical therapy profession. So thanks for joining me, man.
Dude, I am just literally trying to be like Nathan Shields every day. So before you build me up too much, everyone knows you are the man. They listen for you, and I'm grateful to be your Ed McMahon from time to time.
If you can be the haired version of Nathan Shields. Right?
I like that this whole episode is how we keep complimenting each other. Like we could just literally have a whole episode of like, why don't I have that amazing smile? Oh, you don't, go back.
I just wish I was as sexy as you, Will.
And then people are like, are they in love with each other? Are they dating?
Exactly. We do have to qualify when we call each other partners.
Yes.
It's not that kind of partner, right?
Not, well, no thanks to you, but yes.
Well, hey, listen, I wanted to bring you on because it's National Physical Therapy Month. Yay!
Yay!
October of 2022. And it comes around every year, of course. And we got to a point in our clinics where National Physical Therapy Month was a lot of fun.
Totally.
We made sure that, and we put in extra effort in the National Physical Therapy Month. And it wasn't until the last few years of our ownership that we decided to do this, but it was because we decided that our culture was going to be fun, right? And so we loved creating reasons for dress-up days and games and competitions between clinics and raffles and prizes for the patients and whatnot. And not a lot of clinics do that. I mean, they'll hang a banner or something like that, but you can make it so much fun. So we wanted to talk about what we did.
Yeah, and it's like, I think there's such a bigger discussion behind it because, at the end of the day, I don't particularly care most months about what the theme of the month is. I have two homeschooled kids that ask Alexa every day, what's today? And literally last week there was today's National Garden Naked Day. And like, you know what I mean? There's a label and there's I'm not minimizing other months' topics. I think there's a lot of really valuable topics out there. But if we're physical therapists and our industry is in the situation it's in, this should be the month where we come together. But as always, we're in an industry where there's too little time to like learn how to do things the right way. So we just try to cope from day to day and miss out on these amazing opportunities like celebrate National Physical Therapy Month in October. Right.
Well, and you even you said you took one of your calls, and was it a Rockstar Recruiter call that you had?
It was actually a coaching call for Multiple Exit. We had a number of companies online, as well as some companies that weren't part of Multiple Exit. We're really opening up that coaching space to companies regardless if they just want to learn.
Right. And so you got together and just shared thoughts about National Physical Therapy Month. And I like how you took it when just what you shared with me before I pushed record was brought it back to why do we exist? Why did we get into the profession to begin with? And I think that'd be a cool experience to take our teams through as we're talking about National Physical Therapy Month, not just from what are we going to do kind of thing, but maybe revisit our purpose.
Yeah. The why of what we do, as you know, is such an important drum to beat because it's the thing that got us excited about going into student debt and becoming a PT in the first place. We have such a crazy cool culture in our industry of service. And so when we talk to PTs about why they were becoming PTs, the younger ones, the new grads, they're so passionate and they often just kind of downplay their superhero story. I believe, like you do, that every physical therapist has a superhero background origin story. And they just kind of well, no, I hurt my knee in high school and I had a therapist. And I thought that would be cool. Or I knew someone who was a successful PT and I just thought maybe he's cool. Maybe I'll become a PT. And it's like, no, when you get right into the middle of it, you wouldn't go into this much debt to do what we're doing now without having some sort of deep, meaningful drive. And so when PTs share their personal purposes as to why they became a PT, dude, it's so cool to see how the energy just shifts in a room and how immediately people are feeling connected and aligned around this wonderful thing we get to do.
Yeah, it makes me think, even as you're talking about my history with getting into physical therapy, it wasn't a traumatic accident or some kind of recovery on my end. I was just simply looking for a way to connect with people and help them. And I came across someone who I hardly talked to, but simply volunteered at his clinic, and to see the difference that physical therapists were able to make with their patients on a general level. Like, I really didn't connect with any one physical therapist, but to see a number of physical therapists and the work that they were doing and the fun they were having with the patients and the impact that they made on those daily lives of the patients. And then me in turn showing up 2 or 3 times a week and developing my own relationships with these patients and getting to see how they progressed and made huge progress was huge. I'd come home every day with like an adrenaline rush, just coming down. I was so excited after simply volunteering and witnessing what was going on. It was obvious to me that I knew, well, I guess this is what I want to do. Right.
Yeah, it was so fun to watch you treat too. Like, I say this to people all the time, and I'm not trying to be nice to you again, because it could be another hour episode of that, but like, you were easily one of the best technical clinicians. You had an amazing ability to, your knowledge base, to me, always downplayed your intelligence. Like you were just like, yeah, what do you do? I went to a course, but then your ability to apply that into a physical implementation for a patient was so artistic to me. In addition to the idea that you had the ability to connect on a relationship level. And I think that was the coolest part, because I've met a lot of technically good PTs who are okay on the relationships, and really good relationship PTs that are okay on the technical side, which is honestly how I describe myself. But you were really excellent at both of those. And you had this ability of like being emotionally connecting and providing this technique. If you were, the audience might get a kick out of the fact that one time I hurt my back and you were treating me in our partnership meetings. Like, I would be on a table and you'd have me sideline and you'd be working me and doing all these mobs and soft tissue mobilization. And what I really had was a kidney stone. And not just any kidney stone. I had an 8 millimeter kidney stone. It was like an asteroid. It was a massive thing. And so what ended up happening was that kidney stone, because you manually manipulated it, you passed it from my kidney through the ureter into my bladder. And it was so big that it blocked my urethra. And I had this whole nightmare experience with like blood and like a scene from The Shining. But like all that, I'm not going to get into that. But like my urologist said, dude, I've never seen anyone pass from their kidney stone such a big stone. I'm like, I remember thinking, dude, Nathan should be proud of that. Like he was so good.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't know. You can have the kidney stone as a trophy, but like your skills. And so that passion is what derives from your purpose. You're just, this love that you have is so contagious around it. It was fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I can imagine as you held that conversation with those people in the group, the feeling of the group kind of changed as you started down that path. Did that in turn then open up ideas or maybe a little bit more excitement? And I'm imagining these people came to the call like, okay, you're going to teach me now, Will, but maybe they turned it around to, oh, this is exciting. This is something that we can really build off of.
Yeah, and as kind of like a pro hint or hack, is that what we did in that call is also what I do when I'm interviewing candidates to hire or talking to an existing employee about how we're going to create a future, is that when we spend time with people about their purpose, we access the deepest part of their feeling brain, and we're able to start developing a long-term solution around what really matters most to them. And so like in this call, I took one young lady in particular, and we just said, well, why'd you become a PT? And her whole thing was like, yeah, I was an athlete in high school. I had PT a number of times, thought it would be cool, became a PT. Upon further digging, turned out she's like a major achiever, and like sports for her was her whole life. It solved identity as well as 18 other, adolescent trials that she was going through. And when she was injured, it was like all of that was at risk. And her physical therapist, sure enough, super funny, right? Like those are my favorite PTs, are the ones that can make patients laugh. The funny ones who are really good at what they do. And she started talking about this, and it merged into so how does that shape how you treat? She's like, man, my patients, I would die for them. And she meant it. So, and then it just kind of opened up like, okay, that's the message for PT month. How can we get our clients, our community, and our teams to really realize that? So we spent that whole call focusing on how we could leverage National Physical Therapy Month as a celebration, but really more of a PR piece for our industry to save our industry by talking to our communities, our teams, and our patients. And we talked about strategies, right? All the millions of little things you can do to celebrate PT month, but really it's about educating people and celebrating their efforts to overcome trial. And when that happens, guess what? Tons of patients flood the door, new patients, because you're out in the community spreading this message that sells itself. And so if we can just become, stewards of this service that we've been blessed, that we worked hard to earn, but we are also blessed to do in this great country, we will find those who are living in darkness under disability, pain, weakness, and then come to the light of physical therapy so that they can regain their function, their identity, and their passion for life by simply the interventions we get to do.
Right.
It's a really cool discussion. And a lot of it was just like the minor details of like how you can celebrate it. But I think if it's just another checklist item, people aren't going to do it at all.
Yeah, I can see that because some of the things that we did, they're easy to do. And you can Google stuff. You can sit down with your team and brainstorm. But it's relatively simple things. If it doesn't come back to, if you don't take advantage of the time and come back to having possibly a meeting like this in September or at least early October about what's our purpose here, guys? Let's revisit it really quickly. Or let's have a discussion. Maybe it doesn't have to be quick. Let's have a discussion about why we're here and revisit that every so often. Then it just becomes a calendar item. Right?
Yeah.
If you're doing it right, it becomes part of your policy and procedures, and it should be, right? But you can also policy and procedure your culture by saying we revisit our purpose in September in preparation for National Physical Therapy Month. And then we do some of these things that have been successful in the past. And I've been noticing that with some of my clients as I'm coaching, that figuring out what those little things are that create the culture, right?
Yeah.
Figure them out, write them down, and then it might lose a little bit of magic, but it's important to maintain the culture by writing them down and then forcing them to be part of the habit. This is what we do. This is what we do. At this date, at this time, we have discussions about this date. This time, we work with these charities, and we're going to always work with this 5K run and support that whenever it is. Right? And making that part of the policy and procedure then starts generating the culture.
Totally. I love that you're saying that because like when Moses went to the top of the mountain, he didn't come down with like a really good verbal experience. He came down with written commandments because if it's important enough to do, it's important enough to write down.
Right.
But that's the part we get stuck on because we notoriously hate paperwork of all kinds, thanks to EMRs and insurance. So it's like how we really protect what matters most to us is by documenting it, right? And so, like in our case, what we were suggesting as a starting point, and I would say if this is all you do, because like you can come up with a million ideas, it's like, well, I'm not going to do any of them. So this is like one simple thing that I suggested on the call that I'll recommend to your viewers and listeners is just a simple discussion, like to have a special lunch team meeting where you get together and you just as an owner or a leader say, listen, guys, I wanted to get everyone together because it's National Physical Therapy Month. And I just wanted to share the story as to why I became a PT, if they don't know it. And even if they do, maybe share an aspect they don't know. And then invite an open discussion where you ask people, why did you become a PT? Or why are you so passionate about the front desk or whatever they do in your clinic? And at the end of it, just ask the question, guys, I believe what we do here changes lives like you do. How can we use this month as an opportunity to celebrate our community and get the message out about physical therapy when so many people don't even know what we do? Like, what can we do to really just like show respect to a charity or our community at large and let them figure out? Because once everyone shares how they feel and they're feeling that like new grad energy, it's going to quickly convert into, you know what, why don't we why don't we have an open house? Or why don't we do games, minute to win it games in the clinic? Or what if we made a patient of the week? And like, let them create it. Because what people create, they buy into. And that's a key element of leadership, is not spelling out the path, but more identifying the target and helping others feel inspired to that target, and then letting them create. And that's how you get people to show up on a Saturday for a charity event, by the way. It's because they want to do it.
Yeah. So, as you're talking, I also remember the way our National Physical Therapy Month evolved over time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but because I think I had moved to Alaska by this time, but one of the clinics, we did the traditional, Friday dress up days. They did they do minutes win at games. We would have anatomy quizzes for the patients, right? And whoever got the most answers right at the end of the week would get some piece of swag. And we had massage raffles for attendance and whatnot. I remember one of them, after we branded over to Rise and got really clear on our purpose, at the Ocotillo clinic, they had the tree. Do you remember the tree with the leaves?
Yeah.
They put this big trunk on one of the walls, and the patients had the opportunity to write down what they were thankful for. What was the term? I think they said something on the leaf, said, blank has helped me rise above, or because our name at the time was Rise Rehab, right? And so I thought that was a really cool maturation process, if you will, of really accepting the culture and how physical therapy can really help the people, and then inviting the patients then to also to recognize the benefits of their health or people in their lives to help them rise above, which was the purpose of our clinic, right? And I thought that was really cool to see over time.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was neat too, because I just feel like when people were able to gamify their experience at our company, and then leverage sometimes National Physical Therapy Month or a charity that was an embodiment of the greater purpose of what we did at Rise. It was able to create this culture of buy-in. People always ask, like, how do you recruit and retain? Will, how do I recruit and retain? It's like, well, you got to create a company that people don't want to leave. And people hate to hear that, because up until they talk to me, usually most of my clients, they are their company. And so it feels like a personal thing. Like there's something about me that they don't like. And that's why when people quit, it feels like you're being fired every time as an employer. But at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's your vision, and you have a chance to lead a team. And so creating a culture that's about a charity or the industry at large, or celebrating a community. Some of our clients are in these rural communities. What an incredible opportunity to make a huge impact. That was my greatest gift as a PT, was working for you before we partnered in Florence, Arizona, where the community was so small but vibrant that it just took me showing up for them to buy in and be excited about it, right? And so leveraging that for a month and being able to celebrate the team or community or both, one of the best ways we can actually get buy-in. So it's such a funny thing. When we're super stressed, we're like, I don't have time for these things. But when we could really celebrate our community and our teams, we retain them, we get them to create initiatives that would feel like work otherwise if we presented it in a different light.
Right.
And then it produces more buy-in, more patients, more revenue. And that's why revenue is always where it ends up. It's like, if we're doing all this right, we'll have more money. And that's the difference between having a physical therapy company to make money versus making money to build my physical therapy company. I love your recommendation there in your last comment about how inviting the team to be a part of it, because a lot of times as owners, or at least I felt this way, if I heard a podcast like this episode about, hey, you need to do something for National Physical Therapy Month, it's on you, then I'm feeling like, oh, I've got to do all of this, right? Yeah.
And that's not how you get your team engaged, right? And one of my clients, she's great at this. She's like, I don't know why my team loves working for me. And so I started probing, like, okay, what are some of the things that you're doing? What are you doing during your weekly meetings that invite engagement? And it all came back around to, well, they come up with the ideas and I support them 100% and take almost zero responsibility to make sure it's fallen through with. Yeah. And so, like you said, invite them to revisit their purpose, but then invite them to say, okay, how can we fulfill this purpose greater, your purpose greater, in this facility, and how can we get that love out to the community? What are some ideas, guys? Let's go. And if they're excited about it, they will take it on themselves. If they're excited about the charity, if they're excited about the fun run, they'll show up, and they won't expect to get paid for something that's mandatory, right? They'll just show up because they want to be there and they love the people that they work with. So taking it off of yourself, not feeling like, okay, I need to figure out how all these games, I need to figure out all the surveys. It was so much more fun when the team was doing it all. We would show up and we're like, what's this? Why are all these pictures on the wall? And they're like, oh yeah, we got everybody's baby picture, and now the patients have to decide who's who and that kind of stuff. So that makes it so much more fun and engaging for the team.
Yeah, and I think you're on a really key concept here, Nate, that at the end of the day, if we do anything else in National Physical Therapy Month, is to celebrate our PT team. Like that alone is, if that's all we do, then we're living the right way, because our teams are our legacy. The team, it's not the patient care, it's not the community impact. It's that we build, and that is our legacy as owners. And it sucks because, I mean, for years I didn't understand that, and I always felt like that was my biggest trial. But it's like having children. That's really value is learning how to really nurture and lead people. And we do it wrong for a while, but this is how we do it right. We take these opportunities. One of the ideas that came up in that call was to have a meeting of celebration, like a dinner. Like maybe it's just a dinner and award ceremony, like on The Office where they used to do the Dundies. Yeah. We used to do that. We used to do that at Rise. It wasn't during October, but we used to do this for the annual party.
Right.
And this came from Sean Miller at Connect back in the day, giving him credit for this idea. But we used to do that for a number of years, where we would, at our annual party, we would do this really cool game that he created, but then we'd also create awards based off of values. And we'd recognize team members like, hey, for showing professionalism, we recognize you for what you overcame despite your mom having cancer. Like, we were able to really honor people. And it was kind of cool because on that call, Michelle Bambanek, who's working with me in that initiative, and my partner in that initiative, we were talking about awards ceremonies, and she had an old plaque that I created at Affinity Physical Therapy before you and I merged.
Wow.
She had the plaque, and it was like this for recognition for outstanding achievement in the value of whatever. And it was like, she goes, look at it. She goes, this wasn't something I pulled out for this call. This has been sitting on my desk for over 10 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. As owners, I just don't think we get it. Like, as owners, we don't understand that, like, because we feel disrespected by our team so often, and we're struggling against what we don't know. We don't understand the power we have to improve these people's lives well above what we could do for a patient. When we have a team member on our team, we have an ability to influence that person's legacy of their life, like their children, their grandchildren. We have a chance to teach them leadership. We have a chance to acknowledge them. Like in this case, you have a power, even if you don't believe that you do, if you're listening to this, you have the power to create an event where you bring someone up in front of their peers at work and say, this person is special. And for that person to actually believe it because of your position of authority, even if you don't deserve it. Like, hopefully you do, but even if you don't, like, just you doing the right thing in that case has enough potential to motivate someone to make better life decisions, to care better for their kids. And we just don't even, we're so busy with our notes and like keeping up that we lose this gift to influence teams in a way that like changes the world, right? And so, yeah, it's a pretty awesome thing to just recognize for National PT Month, to recognize PTs that we get to work with and who we employ.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest excuses or hurdles to overcome is the fact that we're busy.
Yeah.
We're all busy. I'm too busy, right? And unfortunately, we wear that as a badge of honor. Like I've purposely made it my decision when people say, "Oh, you don't have a lot of time." I'm like, "No, I'm not busy. I'll make time for what's important." Right? I want to discount that as much as possible. I try to avoid telling people that I'm busy because everybody's busy. Who's not busy? But if your water heater went out yesterday, you'd be not busy enough to fix it. Right? So you do what's important. And so it's important for us to recognize that some things are more important than others, and finding ways to live out our purposes better and to encourage our teams, especially for an owner, some way to improve their lives is much better than, I don't know, paying bills today. You can put off the bills and cut the checks later. Let's take 30 minutes and figure out how we can improve the lives of our employees and have a little bit more focus on our patients and living out our purpose. And if not doing it by yourself, set aside that time in the weekly team meetings or in your monthly team meetings, whatever that takes to do what's most important. But it's that busy word that tends to get in the way, right?
Well, I guess, I remember this for me. I'll just speak from experience, agreeing with what you said, that like when I was so overwhelmed with patient care and notes that I had an excuse for not being better. I had an excuse to not hold those crucial conversations that I didn't know how to hold back then. I had an excuse to come home and be burned out and not be the father and husband that my kids and my wife deserve. I had an excuse because as a provider, that's such a real recognizable stress. And like, it's, they're busy. If they're an entrepreneur, they're especially busy, and how lucky everyone should be for my burnout it can be scary for people. But this is the thing that I want people to hear, is that there is a big difference between movement and motion. Motion is like a dog chasing its tail. There is a production and there's an energy that's created, but there's no progression. There's movement. There's like that motion of just circular motion versus movement. Movement is achieving progress in a way that changes lives. And if all we're doing is coping, then we are making impacts with our patients, but we're missing the greater opportunity where it matters most, at home and with our families and with our teams. And so people don't know. They're like, well, how do I get started on that? Like, how do I know? People know if they're in motion versus movement. If you've been doing the same thing over and over again, if you've been going home and telling the same story to your spouse or friends about like how stressed you are at work for the same, and you know what I'm talking about, the same things over and over again. I can't hire, I can't recruit, I can't retain. I'm just too busy treating all these patients to do anything else. You are in motion. And that sucks to hear. And it's not that it doesn't, but I had an experience with a recent mentor, by the way, that will give some color to this. I have this new mentor through Entrepreneurs Organization, Nate. He is a retired CEO of $1 billion software company. And he meets with me for no money once a month. And I had my first meeting with him last month. And I was talking about one of my companies. And I was telling him where I was stuck. And he told me this. He goes, man, Will, if I could just say, feels like your focus is on the wrong thing. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're looking at your business from a place of, like, in my situation, trying to produce more revenue. And you're so fixated on that. It's like, what if you took a step back, focusing on developing plays, like a coach of a football team? What if you developed plays, strategic plays that would, yes, in fact, create that outcome, but would also impact the people in the way that you want? And I couldn't sleep that night. Just like, oh my gosh, it's so true. I've been so focused on like the revenue and like all the steps, all the to-dos, all the motion that has to go. And then when I thought about strategic plays, it became more of like, whoa, I've got to get all these other things off my plate. What are the things? Here are the things. I identified the plays I wanted to execute. And then it became everything else needs to get off my plate immediately. It was, okay, who can I delegate that out to? Who do I need to hire to replace that? I don't care. And what was weird is that the next day I was really busy, quote unquote busy, but it wasn't busy. It was productive because my actions were focused on offloading my calendar, my schedule, to create space to build these two initiatives. There's only one or two things we can focus on at a time. And I'm building those initiatives. I feel purposed. I feel that's where the video I created came from, was being in that space of like trying to feed people's souls instead of trying to sell a product.
Right.
And that's, man, I can do that all day. That's, who can't? Every one of us we get so much energy when we're operating from that place of passion that like immediately all the crap that we feel like we have to do is just, we see it for the crap it is and we offload it.
Right. And you made mention of the video that you made. If you haven't watched it, Will just released this video this last week, and I posted it on the Facebook group because it put words to what's been out there, right? And that is the fear of what's happening in our industry, that we as owners simply aren't taking the time to really move the industry forward. There's plenty of motion, like you're talking about, but not necessarily productive action, right? We're too busy treating patients. We're too busy pushing production, but it's not getting us anywhere further as a profession. And I think your video hit right to the core of it, and people need to watch it. What was the title of the video? Do you remember?
I think it was a desperate plea for physical therapy to each physical therapist. And I think the thumbnail was save physical therapy. And I sent an email out to my audience and just said, I think the subject line was calling all passionate physical therapists.
Right. And it's something that I've been concerned about for some time, because if we continue to go down the path that we're going, there's going to be an end to what we know of outpatient physical therapy, privately owned outpatient physical therapy. There's going to become an end at some point because we just have our heads in the sand.
Yeah, it was interesting because at the very beginning of the video, I just kind of made mention. I'm like, you guys are probably too busy to even watch this video. I created it without editing. There's no music. I literally was just really upset after a particularly stressful coaching call and just filmed this thing. I threw it out to the universe at a time that I've never done. Like I did everything wrong that I was coached to do to create my YouTube channel. It was like, I just sent it at an obscure time that probably people wouldn't listen to. But the thing that I did was I just spoke straight from the heart about it. And it's really how everyone feels. And what's funny about it, there's nothing amazing about the video. It's just how probably people feel, at least the people who watched it. And I will tell you, like, for me, I'm glad that people liked it. I really don't care that people liked it, though. It's like, I did that for me because gratefully to this mentor, I was in a headspace of like what really matters now. And I was able to communicate that out into the universe. And I'm just scared. At the end of the day, it's not the wrong kind of fear. It's the right kind of fear for me. It's like this clarity that we all have, that we are losing what we have. We are losing it to chiropractors. We're losing it to athletic trainers. We're losing it here and there. The
hospital contracts and
my gosh, man, like everything's getting wheeled down.
Therapy clinics, yeah.
And reimbursement keeps going down. Now inflation's going up, and we take it, and we take it, and we take it. And what happens is we have this huge movement within physical therapy, especially the younger PTs that are just like, why would I do this? Why would I take a $150,000 loan to become a $70,000 therapist and be stressed out all the time because I'm supposed to see 80, 90 visits a week? And like, honestly, it's not a question of, I had one troll on that video, and you're not supposed to feed trolls, but I want to bring it up because I think this was interesting. His whole thing was like, be more optimistic. I'm like, this is me being optimistic. Me even saying that there's a chance is being optimistic, because there's no future that we can see where it's not going to get watered down to be so diluted that we can't do what we love. And here's what's really sad. Yeah, it sucks for us that we can't do what we love in terms of serving people, helping them achieve their identity through physical function. What really sucks is those patients who are so underserved, who don't have the love and the humor of great PT to not just change their physical condition, but change their life.
Right.
In my case, and I won't go into my story because I tell it a lot, but my PT, when I was 17, didn't save my life. She changed it forever by loving me, having a relationship, and caring that I walked and crying that I walked the first time. It's like, that's what goes away. It's going to get so watered down. It's not going to completely go away, but it's going to get so watered down that it's going to be, again, some ancillary service that is going to be like a medication that gets prescribed and nothing more.
Yeah.
That almost anyone can do. We just take it and we take it and we take it.
Yeah.
That's it. I didn't have any solutions either. It's not like I was like, here are the 3 things we need to do to save the industry. I actually don't know anymore. People rip on the APTA. I don't know. Like, I
don't know. I have ideas, but you and I both know that we can throw those ideas out there. Who's going to act on them because they're too busy? Yeah. Right? They're thinking, oh yeah, maybe that's good. Maybe I'll get around to that someday. But yeah, it's like, and that's just how it's going to land. I mean, that's why our membership in the APTA suffers comparatively. I mean, the AMA, American Medical Association, is a huge, I shouldn't say profitable, but productive group because people are engaged, right? And we don't have a lot of that with us. And we have people, well, I think as a whole, industries have taken advantage of our lack of business acumen as a profession. And we always play the nice guy. And that's just kind of the personality of PTs in general, is we want to be the nice guy to everybody. Let's not step on any toes because we have to get those referrals from the physicians.
Right.
So better play nice to them, right? Or the big collusion, fake news that's out there if we do anything as a group, right? There's plenty of opportunity to do more and to stand up for ourselves, yet we rarely do it for fear of fill in the blank. Right? Yeah. We're ruled by fear as a profession. So much fear of the audit, fear of losing our license, fear of patients not liking us, fear of physicians not liking us. Oh no. But if Medicare comes down and does their things, we just take it, and we don't have an APTA organization that has the skill and the capability to do more for us. So it's really hard. But like you said, even if we had a couple things out there, we're just too busy to take care of it and do more.
Yeah. And that kind of that motion versus movement piece that we talked about, it's keeping us spinning our tails to the point where, as one friend of mine said this, he goes, it's like we're sharpening the knife that cuts our own throat. Mm-hmm. And I loved how he said that, because it's so true. We take it and we take it. And then when we don't stand up to fight for this, it's the same thing as us actively destroying it. There's no difference when we don't stand up. And so, like, again, I don't have and I don't even claim to be a no. I just know that I just want people to get more angry. I think people are angry, but they don't really feel comfortable. And I just want to ask people to start getting a little bit more pissed off, to start looking at things from a place of that's not right. Even if it's not complaining. If we got loud enough, maybe if we got angry enough, we would actually organize and do something in the way that would be useful. Mm-hmm. And so for now, maybe it's a matter of just saying the obvious, the elephant in the room that it's not that we're afraid to talk about, but we're too busy to talk about. Mm-hmm. And just up in our conversations with each other of physical therapy is going to die as we know it if we don't start getting angry at United Healthcare, like you were talking about before this call, or certain lacks of support that we just don't get the same support in our industry as PT owners, man. Mm-hmm. There is so much support in other medical outpatient services. So many, the industries provide educational resources. And why should we blame, PPS or the APTA when we don't even go to those events?
Right.
It's so funny because I hear people complain about PPS and in the APTA, and maybe they're right. I really don't know what I don't know, but I just know that when you and I go to PPS, there's 600 people there. That's how I just got my list, by the way. It's 650 people are coming to PPS this year. That's how many total emails we have. We have 22,000 physical therapy practices in the country today. We have 600 people, 22,000. So let's stop blaming the APTA. Maybe it is, maybe it's not the solution. But people just need to start getting pissed off more. And if maybe they went there just to go complain, that could be maybe the start of something big. Right. But we just take it and we take it. And I'm just getting really tired of it. I'm really getting tired of it because it makes me so sad to think about what my life would have been like if I hadn't had my PT step up and give a crap about me. And if we don't do something, it's going away. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but it just won't be as awesome.
I totally agree. And, people might be out there yeah, maybe easy for you guys to say because you sold your clinics. But I don't think maybe they don't recognize that we're still closely involved with a lot of physical therapy clinics.
Yeah, that's all we do.
It's got a lot of that work, and we care enough for people that we want to give back, and we give freely of our time to do that because we want to see people do more. And I think because we are separated from it, it gives us a greater perspective to see this. Right. And I think owners might be thinking that maybe that's happening within their own clinics, but we're seeing it nationwide across the profession that things are going this way and that things need to change. Yeah. Like I told you before the call, I have Physical Therapy Owners Club t-shirts that I passed out to friends and listeners and whatnot and clients. And I think on the back, I might just put drop UHC now. On the back. If there's one little thing that you could potentially do, because I really doubt that anyone's making any profits on United Healthcare right now, considering they've kept the same contract reimbursement rates for the past 2 or 3 decades. That's a place to start standing up for yourself right there. Find your lowest payer and drop them. Just find your lowest payer, drop them. They disrespect you, drop them.
Yeah.
Figure it out on the back end. I'm sure you can make a profit still. You'll probably make a same profit, or if not better, after you drop those lower payers, but just do something. Or like you're going up for an APTA PPS position on the nominating committee.
I'm running for the nominating committee this year. Yeah.
Do something. Start with your team and talking about purpose again. Start grassroots, but something can be done and it needs to.
We were given such an incredibly rare opportunity in our business because we were surrounded by coaches outside of physical therapy that helped us create the ideal practice. Mm-hmm. And it might be like, oh, they're bragging. Totally. 100%. I have no problem bragging about that team of human beings or the coaches that helped us get there. I am not saying that Nathan nor I naturally did anything that we figured it out. We were big believers in R&D. Not research and development, but rip off and duplicate, meaning we not illegally, we hired people to teach us. But we got to a point where the business was running almost completely without us, with some of the most amazing human beings that have ever walked this earth.
Right.
And it grew, and it was a huge moneymaker because we kept investing back into the patient and therapist experience. And then we exited, and Nathan and I could have gone any number of directions, but we've doubled down in PT because of what we care about. And the reason I'm running for this office of the APTA is because I'm trying to be the solution that I am tired of ignoring and then started complaining about. That's why here's the evolution of our industry that I'd like to see. We're aware of it and ignoring it. I don't think it's been revolutionary. I don't think it's a brand new idea that like physical imploding. We're all kind of aware of it and we just go about our day because at the end of the day, we just want to get our notes done and go home. Yeah. So we're just moving. It keeps worsening and we're upset about it. People are starting to leave. We're upset. We're like, what can you do? I'm too busy. So we're actively ignoring it. I want people to go from that to pissed and angry, and then from angry to start acting. If we can get to the acting stage, we stand a chance. If we can get to the place where people are going to be like, you know what? Yeah, it really stinks that I'm a director in Wyoming and I'm driving to work and I'm dealing with the same HR crap over and over again. But maybe, just maybe, if I start speaking up and I go to PPS and I start complaining with other people about it, I will network and step out of my comfort zone and start getting the discussions going that will end up doing things like dropping United Healthcare. There is no world where we shouldn't be dropping this insurance like a bad habit. It is a joke what they are doing to you and our patients, and we take it, and we take it, and we take it. Because what are we going to do? What are we going to do, Nate? If we can't take those patients, maybe the doctors won't send to us. And if they don't send to us, maybe I have to work harder. And if I have to work harder, then I'll never be able to see my kids play soccer. Like, it's the dumbest combination of fears. And I'm not judging you. That was me. That is 100% how I operated for the longest time. But it's not even true. Right. The truth is we should be afraid of what we're going to lose if we don't get pissed and start doing things about it. So yeah, I love your idea. I think a big movement around dropping United Healthcare would be the coolest thing ever. If we did that one thing successfully, Nate, I bet all the other insurances would crap their pants and be like, well, wait a minute. We don't want to be in that position. And then if everyone does it, we don't have to worry about our small mindset of thinking we're going to lose business to the other therapists. Let the other therapists who don't want to drop it take all that crappy insurance. And I know you're thinking, but those are human beings, Will, and da-da-da-da. Yeah, you are the one, if you take it, when you keep taking it, you're the one who's causing the problem to them. If we all dropped them together, that patient would have better insurance, less out-of-pocket costs, and better results. Period.
That's right.
So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Well, thanks for posting that on YouTube. It's one of those things where I don't think I hear it enough. Joey Albritton has been good on his Facebook groups about posting concerns and whatnot. And it's interesting to see the replies about, whether it's owners just focused on profits or you complaining about employees or that kind of stuff and going back and forth. But it's rarely led to any solutions. And that's where the conversations need to be had. It's until we get fed up, we're not going to really do much about it. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And hopefully the profession just doesn't implode before I retire. It can implode after I retire, but not before.
No, I don't think it will. I think your podcast is one of those examples of fighting. People are listening because they care enough to try to put an effort in where they can. And so I hope that no one listens to this and just feels really bad. That's not the point. I want them just to get angry. That's it. I want them to listen to this and get like, yeah, Will and Nathan are right. This really sucks. We want this to change. Maybe we can do something about it. And what do you need to do? Just keep listening. Keep listening, look for opportunities. I'm going to create a meeting or something like that, on the back end of that video, since so many people, I was overwhelmed by the response, thousands of views, dozens and dozens and dozens of comments and emails and like Facebook posts. I'm really honored that I put something out there that showed me personally that people do care. So I'm going to put something together. We can announce it, whatever. But the point is that for now, just be angry. Just be sick and tired of it. Let's let the pain of change be less than the pain of not changing. I think doing the little that we can. And
I think if people are simply aware that action needs to happen, and putting that in your mind might not generate ideas of what to do now, but thinking and ruminating on that and recollecting that occasionally down the road, something in the universe will come before you and say, here's my opportunity to make a change. Here's my opportunity to act, right? But just being aware that I want to do something. I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'm going to reflect and I'm going to be mindful of what the universe brings before me here in the near future. And when it does, I'll see an opportunity in which I could act and then do so.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's really a great place for us just to kind of leave things off, because ultimately, if we can just put that intentionality out there, opportunities will come.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
One stupid I don't want to minimize it. One important, simple 3 to 5 minute video that I just threw out there because I'm one of many was enough to start igniting this fire around it. And it's what's your fire? What can you do to send a spark out there, right?
Right. And that's the important thing, is just what can I do in my space that can make a difference once or twice and have a greater impact? And that could be simply sharing your video, right? It could be maybe reading the Impact magazine once in a while. It could be listening to the podcast. It could be sharing this episode with other people. It should be talking about purpose, because it's National Physical Therapy Month.
Certainly bringing it all back. I love how you did that. Let's start by just getting our teams super passionate about what they do again, to make an impact in your community. Right. Will, if people want to get in touch with you and talk or email or join the next webinar, how can they get on? How can they connect with you? Maybe get on your email list. Yeah. You can email me at will@unlockhba.com. HBA stands for Healthcare Business Academy, teaching us all that we wish we learned in PT school. Want to email me? That's great. You can go to my YouTube channel. It's the HBA, the Healthcare Business Academy YouTube channel. I produce videos every week. Or just reach out to Nathan. He'll put you in touch with me.
Totally. All right. Thanks for joining me today, bud. It's always good.
Thank you, brother.
All right. We'll talk to you later.